So could you tell us, is this the worst fire that the Fire and Rescue Service has ever had to tackle?
I wouldn't say it's the worst. I mean, there's been very challenging incidents in the past. Definitely for myself, the most frustrating, because we saw yesterday that our crews were trying to attempt to carry out an offensive on the fire and try to locate the seat of the fire. And given the extremely challenging conditions inside, we decided to retreat. It's a word that we very rarely use, and it's not in our nature to retreat from an incident. In fact, it's in our nature to attend and extinguish and resolve it. So it was a hard decision to make, to retreat, but...
What exactly makes you retreat?
Well, basically the level of risk to the firefighters when there's no life at risk inside. And once you determine that there is no savable life within the incident itself, then at that point we have to ascertain and basically make a decision on whether the level of risk is enough for us to take for our own firefighters. When you have savable life inside, we're prepared to go the extra mile, obviously.
Now, there are a number of tunnels in Gibraltar. Yeah. How prepared would you say the Fire and Rescue Service was for an incident of this calibre?
Right. When you train for worst-case scenarios, this is the worst-case scenario, where you have zero visibility, extreme heat. It's exhaustive work that the firefighters are carrying out, failure in water supply, that is addressed quickly, but nevertheless, there are issues that hamper operations. So everything that could have potentially gone wrong in this incident has. So when you prepare for a worst-case scenario, this goes beyond that, maybe. It's reality. It's very difficult to prepare for something like this. Nevertheless, we have the training and we have the knowledge to deal with it. But then certain things have to come into place for us to be able to proceed and carry out our tactics in the manner that we should.
Well, you're currently working to tackle Vault 4. Vault 3 has been extinguished. How long is that expected to take? And is there a risk that whilst you try and tackle Vault 4, further fire could spread? It's
difficult to say. As you've just rightly said, we've extinguished the fire on Vault 3. We believe that the fire has been confined to Vaults 3 and 4, simply because they are the only two vaults that have a link between each other. So we've now forced entry into Vault 4, and we're tackling the incident in Vault 4. We've had to retreat our crews once again because there's more signs of collapse, but we are still applying media onto the fire. So we are very hopeful that this will be the last vault that is affected. Okay. It's unlikely that it spread, and the color of the smoke now, as it is now, which is basically white smoke, is a good indication of that.
Okay. Now, the fire is way deep into the tunnel, so does that mean it would have had to have been started by someone who had access to it? Do you have any knowledge of how it started at present or any suspicion?
It's difficult to say at the moment. And I wouldn't want to jump into conclusions. We need to investigate the incident, or we need to carry out an investigation post-incident, and at which point we may come to a conclusion on the possibility of how it was ignited. It's difficult for it to ignite on its
But it did ignite
by itself.
Quite far in, right? So there's a question of access.
Definitely. You're looking at around 150 meters deep. Which is even more challenging when you're going in with breathing apparatus because you're already using up air on your way in. So, yeah, the possibility is that it has been, I wouldn't say malicious, but definitely it has been caused either accidentally or maliciously, but I wouldn't want to go into any conclusions as yet.
Okay. Well, you said in a statement from the Fire and Rescue Service that there's no evidence of damage to AquaGib's reverse osmosis plant infrastructure. As you've heard in our reports, there's still questions as to whether it's entirely operational at present. Do you have any further information on its operationability at the moment? And is there a risk that people might lose their water as a result? It accounts for 70% of water in Gibraltar.
Right. As it stands at the moment, we're working very closely with AquaGib and GBC Elec. In fact, their personnel are on site at the moment, and I'll be making my way to the scene right after this interview. The tactical plan today has been to protect the reverse osmosis plant, simply because Apart from saving life, one of our main duties is protect the infrastructure, Gibraltar's infrastructure. So that was the main tactic today, apart from then making slow progress into the fire. Into
And
the
have
seasonal
you
fire.
established that that infrastructure is entirely undamaged?
Yes,
Okay.
that has been achieved. We've managed to extinguish the fire in Vault 3, now tackling Vault 4, which is near extinguished. And the rest of the infrastructure going through the tunnel doesn't seem to be damaged. Nevertheless, we still don't have clear vision of the whole tunnel. We're still working in near zero visibility, so it's very, very challenging, and we can't ascertain whether there's been any damage to that infrastructure. We don't believe there has because of the positioning of that infrastructure, but nevertheless, it's something that we need to ascertain once we're able to gain access safely into the tunnel. The AquaGib asset has been protected, and that's intact, and the GIB elec asset has been protected as well, and that's intact, and they're working now towards rebooting the whole system.
People will be worried at home that that their water might be at risk. Should they be concerned?
We are hopeful that they can reboot quite soon. That is our hope. But once again, that would be a better question for AquaGib and GIB elec to answer. But as far as we are concerned, our task was to protect the infrastructure. That's been done, and now it's up to the experts to get that going.